By the way, so back in Kill Now, Rocket hatches his plan to escape, and again, just great shots, right? So I love where they downstairs, right, in the cafeteria area, if it's so to speak, right? And Rocket is talking about, oh, we need this battery, but they need a battery to help in the escape plan, right? But it's behind this light. They kind of hard to take down the light and all that kind of stuff, right? So while he talking to everybody about this, right? Well, sorry, he talking to Gamora and Peter about this. Groot just gets up, walks to these same lights, and he stretches his legs and grabs the thing, right? And pulls it, right? But is what makes the scene so special, Dread, is that you see Drax on the other side of the frame watching him, just watching him, just silent, just watching him do this thing. Like, I don't know what it is you doing, bro, but I just watching you. Like, I don't know what's going on. I think that's like just in terms of just frame wise, I think is great, right? So of course,
you talked about earlier. No, you had talked about earlier about Peter being able to like think on his feet and that kind of stuff. In that moment there, it was so good to see the beginnings of the team dynamic being able to think on their feet, because clearly the lamp was the last thing that they were supposed to get. But by Groot pulling that off, now they kind of had to rush through a plan very quickly. And now it's just,
Yeah, indeed, right? So I'm not going to get into detail with everything that happened during the whole prison break, but it's really kick-ass. I love how the Guardians each get their own little moment of badassery. So, like Groot, for example, they show how he has, like, he's near invulnerable, I would say, the bullets, right? So he kind of sets up this sort of wood-like sort of skin, if you will, bulletproof skin, right? I just love this just as a character, how Groot is, right? So it's kind of taken certain aspects of of Flora, right, and just sort of how he kind of accentuates it body wise, right? So it's almost like he's not like a pure tree or pure plant, right? But he takes aspects of what we know about trees and plants and whatnot and uses, it's part of his makeup, right? His genetic makeup, so to speak, right? So I love that. Oh, somebody's trying to shoot at him. Wood kind of comes out of his body and he can use it as a shield. Like this, little things like that I love, though. I don't know if that is how the original character was. I kind of doubt that. I feel like James Gunn kind of tweaked the character a lot. I feel so. Maybe y'all can tell me. I don't know. But really, the moment that people remember, though, is where Rocket just start busting shots. Right? He's behind Groot's neck. He just like firing off shots. There's even a POV shot there where I just watch this like dog, like somebody was playing Doom Hustle. Like probably somebody watched the Doom live action movie, with The Rock, and say, oh, I want to do something like that. So that was really cool as well, right? And of course, it just leads to our heroes, going into Peter's ship and fleeing the scene, right? So yeah, back on Xana now, Yondu goes to the broker, right? So he wants to know about the orb and why everybody want to get this thing, right? This is a really funny bit, though. I just love the scene so much, right? Where the broker starts talking about the high-end community, right? And Yondu just starts talking gibberish, right? And, it's a nice little play on, you use this upper class, you turning on your nose on me because I'm some blue alien. She just does this, a bolle, 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 bolle. Yeah, bolle. I just love you say bolle, 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 right? But what makes this moment stand out so much is Yondu's weapon, Dread. I love this weapon so much, right? It's just this metallic arrow with it has like this voice command, so he just does this whistle that comes out. And he could power it with this the sort of headpiece that he has on his head, right? What I love, though, just going back to visual effects, so is the little trail. It has this like gas-like trail that comes out of the back of the arrow when it moves about. Again, it's just the little attention. It's just the attention to detail that I love about this movie so much, right? It's something that you wouldn't think about, but it works so in terms of just how he moves and how this weapon works, right? And boy, how they use it in part 2, but in volume 2, wow, that is like one of the best things of volume 2 ever, in my opinion, right? But that's volume 2. Yeah, basically, Yondu finds out who this mysterious buyer is, right? And this buyer just so happens to be Canalia Tiffan, who is played, i.e., the collector, who's played by we boy Benicio del Toro, right? And
I don't know. It's only because of Thor. You find out he was in this, right?
The Dark World, yeah. He was in a mid-credit. No, he was in a mid-credit scene.
Okay.
Mid-credit scene, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the post-credit scene was just this dumb thing with one of the creatures showing back up
Okay,
on
okay,
eight.
okay.
It
No
was,
problem.
like a throwaway thing, but whatever, right? But yeah, the
Is that not
mid-credit
the scene
scene
where he's like one
was
down, three to go, or something like that?
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it was, right? Alluding to the
Why?
Infinity Stones, but we didn't know what he was talking about at the time. But I like that they set it up there, right?
Except for the comic nerds who know this bullshit, but yeah.
Exactly right.
Like,
In retrospect,
yeah.
though, in retrospect, right, this opening scene, like this establishing scene with Tanale is kind of creepy, Dread, because we
Yeah.
see his assistant Karina basically as a slave host. You have the
Right.
girl on she knees cleaning this glass cage house. I just want to say, hey, didn't think about the first time you see because you're more thinking about how particular and odd the collector is, but you realize man's kind of a motherfucker though. Like he's like a
Right.
sadist in a sense, right?
Well,
Wow,
he's
shit.
just like he's one of, I forget what it's called but the elders or something like that.
The ancient ones or something. So
yeah, but he's like this guy from from Thor 3. It's the same race, I think, and they know each other.
Jeff Goldblum character,
Right.
Yeah. I
I
should really look at what they are though, but you're right.
Right. Yeah. All of it like super old and powerful, types. Right.
Yeah, and like Homegirl even calling the man master and they're like, oh, this is like some creepy shit, right? I could be wrong, right? But the cages she's cleaning up, swear to God, I feel like inside, right? Because it's one of those. Oh, if you watch it, if you watch at home, you pause and you see who it is, and like, oh, it's a nice little Easter egg. I think inside that particular cage is one of the sort of elf warriors from Thor: The Dark World. I could be wrong, but it looks just like that. The Dark Elves, yeah.
the Dark
Right?
Elves.
There's this bit where you see like another assistant in this glass cage, and she has like this shock collar and electrodes on her. He's just basically saying, "Oh, well, if you don't do your job, you'll end up like her, Dread." So again, this man on real shit, right? But where Tanale resides, the way he lives, though, for me, is one of the most fascinating set pieces. Like I'll never forget seeing this for the first time, right? And again, James Gunn, imagination, just celebrating sci-fi and comic books and the possibilities, right? Is this gargantuan skull in the middle of space, right? And it's of this ancient celestial being. I wonder now, is this similar to the celestial beings from Eternals?
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you for answering that.
Yeah,
right,
but then Celestial, they say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They show one of the Celestials in this for the first time.
Yes. The one who was trying to channel the Infinity Sword. You get to it a bit, right? Yeah. But just the mere fact that this is a planet, right? Called Nowhere. I like that it's capital. It's K Nowhere. I like that. That's cool, right? But just the idea of a skull being a planet blew my mind, and just
so big,
in terms of just visuals, I love the sort of orange and gray sort of aura that surrounds it. Boy, best visual effects, boy. Like I don't know, I can't remember what one. Yeah. There's a lot of like black market stuff going on there as well, right? But yeah, just to visual effects though. Like I don't know that in retrospect, this should have won, but I can't remember who won best visual effects, back then. But whatever, right? Yeah. And I'll always remember making the drawing the parallel with a favorite cult classic of mine called Heavy Metal, right? Yeah, where basically you have this scene where it's just our heroes flying into this planet and it looks psychedelic and weird, but you have this song playing in the background, this rock song, and in this case, it's Moon Age Daydream from the late great David Bowie, right? And I always got heavy metal vibes from that, right? Just this idea that space is like the ultimate trip, man, and get high to this shit, right? So it's kind of drawing from that too. But that's in terms of just a set piece, though, it is one of the best in this movie, bar none, right? So prior to the Guardians meeting up with Tanale, we get this sort of nice, intimate-ish moment with Peter and Gamora, which pretty much sets up the bond that you'll have up until Infinity War, because that's where they kind of split up for reasons, right? Well, you see what happens, right? And the controversial take and how that happened with Peter, right? And all that stuff, right? So like how they just sort of opening up to themselves emotionally. I love how they use the song that plays straight and they do a little dance. I love that prior to that, Peter does this nice little joke where he talking about, he mentions Footloose, right? What the movie was about. That was really nice as well, right? And I like that it establishes Peter's fondness for 80s movies, and you see it come back in a little Christmas special, the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, because it involved the star of Footloose, which was Kevin Bacon, right?
Yeah.
he always, throughout the series, he was idolizing him, right? So, it's funny how Kevin Bacon, the actor, was brought into that Christmas special. I always love that, right? But I love how it ends with Gamora just pretty much like saying, "Oh, like pretty much smartening up to Peter, he
And it's
charming her,
pelvic
right?"
sorcery.
Yeah, dog. Just that term, pelvic sorcery, Jen, always
Pelvic
always stood
sorcery.
out to me. I
That
love
also
that.
became a thing for a little while after that. Just for a little while after a while, in certain circles, it became a whole thing about being seduced by one's pelvic sorcery. So that was a moment.
I can imagine. Yeah. So immediately we get this like genuinely heartbreaking moment, though. So yeah, it starts off after this fight between Drax and Rocket and Groot, right? And yeah, Rocket just calling out Drax for laughing at him and calling him a vermin and all that kind of stuff, right? And there's a line that Rocket drops, right, where he says, "I didn't ask to be made," right? He didn't ask to be ripped apart and put back together and be called a
Over and
monster.
over.
Yeah, it's just such a powerful scene, though. I just like how, as short as it is, it really establishes just how damaged these characters are, right? And how they ultimately sort of need each other for for comfort, for solace, right? Like that, right?
Which
Um,
is which is why,
yeah,
like, going back now and watching things like Endgame and that kind of stuff, you can see how, like, Nebula and Rocket, like, their connection, like, everybody in the cast, has the connection, but Rocket and Nebula, because Nebula is also one of those who's always been taken apart and made quote unquote better by her creator, which is Thanos, her father, like, always ripping her apart and putting stuff new and doing whatever it is. And it's the same kind of vibe going on there with Rocket. So going back to that, I like how that kind of just like gives you a little hint of what could play with those two.
exactly. And I do love that in Volume 3, you really see just how dark, Rocket's past was, but like
Yeah.
that's just a decision to just show the audience, look, this is what this man really went through. Right? This is how brutal and terrible it all was. Right? I applaud that, right? As dark as it was, right? So anyway, so Drax walks out in frustration, and while the other Guardians are called by Karina now to meet the Collector, right? So it's kind of a museum, kind of, what I mean, that the Collector
Right.
owns. We see Cosmo the Space Dog for the first time. I remember who will show up in the Christmas special and Volume 3. You actually see Chitauri from the Avengers. I thought that was really cool. And fun fact, there's this nice wide shot where you see the Collector, right? Where he's introducing himself. And to the top and middle of the frame, you see Howard the Duck, but he's like out of focus there, so you don't really pick up on it. But like if you just pause the shot and you look closely, you will see him in the background. It's like, okay, I see what he did there, right? And yeah, basically we get this info dump. This info dump which sets up what will lead to the Infinity War, right? So this involves the Infinity Stones and how there was this particular group that was trying to share the energy of the Infinity Stones amongst themselves, but they failed because of how powerful that energy was, right? And you do see one of the Celestials using it as a weapon to destroy basically this whole civilization, right? This great visual moment, right? And yes, that stone happens to be the Power Stone, right? And it's in the orb, which you see Vanilla opens and you just see it there, right? This purple stone, right? And Karina now, she sees this as a way to free herself from Tanalea's control, and she grabs it. And that's where you see again just how powerful. Well, this is where you actually see what would happen if you were to touch the stone, right? So yeah, she just basically sort of vaporizes and dies, right? So that's what it is, right?
I will be a
And
slave to you no more, and then
yeah, I will
start
be a slave
screaming
to you
when
no more. And then she, does the thing, right? And yeah, it causes these explosions, and our heroes run out because you have to run from an explosion. It's action movie 101. That's what you do, right? But it's like that, right? And yeah, our heroes pretty much flee the scene with the orb and the stone inside, right? So they decide that the best course of action will be to deliver it to the Nova Corps before Ronan acquires it. But speaking of Ronan, Drax being Drax though, because he's still drunk and just being an asshole, yeah, the man went into what is basically this the equivalent of a phone booth. I don't know who the guy inside there is. I swear like I saw him before in a movie. I'll have to look up and see who that guy is, right? But yeah, basically he just comes with the same shank from before from the prison. It's like, I want you to send a message for me or send a signal out for me, right? That's what he says, right? Yeah, Drax in a dumb but intention move.
In Drax
Yeah,
way.
call Ronan. Yeah. I mean, yes, it is a dumb move, and I like that he calls out. Yes, it was very stupid of me to do that. But the reason why I did this is like, look, I just want to kill this guy. Like I done, liming with Tolly and talk about orbs and whatnot. I just want to kill this guy, right? So he called him man literally into nowhere, right? And of course, conveniently I must say, yeah, Yondu and the Ravagers show up as well, right? So I'm not gonna get into the details of the action scene, but I thought that the action scene itself was great. They have this nice little chase with our heroes and whatnot. And when Nebula is trying to get the orb, which she eventually does, right? Boy, Drax get his ass washed by Ronan Dread. It's always a moment that I always remember, and in particular the moment where he gets hit and he falls into this vat of like yellow goo. I mean, it's not really well, they said what the goo is. I can't remember what it was. It's something that they mine.
It's from the mining it from the creature from
the dead celestial, right?
Stem or something like that of the celestial.
Yeah. But it's just that shot though of Drax hitting, the goop and falling, sinking down though, always slow to me. That's the visuals of it, like the colors in particular I really love, right? But yeah, as I said,
I'm saying in retrospect, you gotta hand it to Drax though. It was a stupid move, but the idea of calling out your enemy instead of doing this roundabout dance, just get to the matter. Yes, he did get his ass
it's a warrior, thing. He had some warrior shit. Yeah.
I'm basically in that.
Yeah, I like this. Of course, this moment where you say, you murdered my wife and my daughter. And Ronan is being an asshole. This boy is like, I don't even know what you talk about, Dread. It's like boom, hits him.
Ronan
right? Yeah, Rel and Bison. For real. Yeah, R.I.P. Raul Julia, by the way, right?
For him, it's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. And then also Gamora almost dies because her escape pods gets destroyed by Nebula, right? Yeah. Boy, the music for this too, the visuals for this too, that's how everything comes together at this point. I absolutely love, right? Yeah, Peter does this really truly heroic act. Like he exits his pod, he signals the Ravagers to collect him, and he gives Gamora his headgear. So basically, it's through this earpiece, which I love. I like that. The mask that we saw earlier on is through this earpiece that he has, right? So she could breathe, right? And boy, Marvel Studios were cooking with the VFX, boy, because just that shot of Peter's face and the frost that comes in the face and the light thread that comes in his face, I'm like, wow, this shit still look great. And this movie is 10 years old. That shot look fantastic. I love that. I love that. Love that scene, right? But anyway, so the Ravagers show up just in time before Gamora. Well, so I should say before Peter dies, right? So they suck up Gamora and Peter, right? But back to Ronan, right? So now Ronan has the Power Stone thanks to Gamora, right? Sorry, thanks to Nebula, right? And in a genuinely ballsy move. Still to this day is one of the ballsiest moves I've seen a villain do, Dread. Man, take the Power Stone out, right? You take the Power Stone out and put it in the hammer, Dread. Yeah. And just that shot of him put it and try to channel that power like dog, like. But it's how it starts, right? Yeah, like don't do it, right? But it's how it starts off prior, right? Yeah, the man like literally just tell Thanos to fuck off, Dread. It's like, dog, I don't need you, Dread. I can't do this on my own, Dread. I gotta keep this Dread for myself. I gotta do the job. I gotta wipe out Xander, right? But yeah, plus the balls that man take just to put that stone in the hammer, Dread, like, wow. Like you're still a two-dimensional villain, but God, like you really don't care, Dread. You really do not care at this point, right? I love how Nebula basically says that she'll help him out in his cause, right? Yeah, basically, as we will see in the other films, yeah, Thanos is treating you like shit. So it's just like, yeah, I down for you. There we go, right? So to that battle sequence time, right? So the Guardians team up with the Ravagers and the Nova Corps, and it's just basically them taking out Ronan's army, right? So yeah, Peter and Yondu have this temporary truce, right? So basically, is Peter will acquire the orb and he will give it to and the Power Stone, sorry, and he will give everything to Yondu once the mission is over, right? And the action sequence that takes up a majority of this third act is superb, though. The pacing, the music, and boy, them visuals, them visuals. Wow, 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 wow. I love those visuals, right? So basically, gonna do the 3 act structure for this quickly, right? So first third, right? It has this incredibly epic aerial battle, right? So yeah, this is where people will say this is like the MCU Star Wars, and yeah, it is like that. It is really the equivalent of seeing like this really stylized and energetic dogfight, right? Like from a Star Wars movie, it's like that, right? Um, but what I love is one of those things you don't think about, but really what makes the scene work, right? What I love though with all this stuff, all this aerial, all this, the aerial battle as a whole, right? It's all in daytime, us.
Yeah, look great.
So no
Yes.
dark skies, no shadows to hide anything. You are seeing everything crystal clear.
Mm.
You're not doing
That's
anything
actually
to
something I
hide
don't
the
really think
CG. I
about, but
love
you're
that.
right.
Very
Yes,
You're
yes.
underrated.
very right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And boy, as I say, Ricardo, the moment where the Nova Corps create this net to
Yeah.
bring down Ronan's shit, though, like Ronan's ship, I will not lie, that shit just give me chills, It's just how the camera pulls back and you just seeing the beams come together and you just seeing this net being formed by these ships. So chills, I get
Yeah,
chills
look good.
seeing that, but I
Look great.
love that. Yeah. So now for the second third of this awesome, awesome sequence, right? So this is where the Guardians now, except for Rocket, because he's helping you Nova Corps, right? So they make their way through Ronan's ship to get the orb, right? So there's this genuinely beautiful moment now where Groot lets out these seeds with lights on them, right? To light their path, right? Again, I just love the makeup, the genetic makeup of Groot, where again he's taking what we know about plants and trees, but using them as
Yeah.
skill sets. I love that. I love that, right? Especially using those little seeds as lights. I love that, right?
Yeah.
Um, I like where Drax asks him, "Yeah, when did you learn to do that?" And Peter responds, "Pretty sure the answer is I am Groot." I love that. That's a nice little bit, right? Um, so to get to the moment that I know you were searching on, Tracy, the moment that kind of turned you off a bit about
It was
Drax.
that.
Yeah, so Drax is, because he feeling sorry for dropping the ball. Okay, yeah, he dropped the ball in nowhere, right? So he's like, you know what? I'm so glad that we're still friends, and this dumb tree is my friend. But then he says, this green whore is, and
Right.
Gamora's like, oh, will you stop it, right?
Right.
Now,
You
in
see,
retrospect, yes, it is kind of
gosh, yeah.
out of pocket. It is very crass, especially
It's not just out of pocket in terms of like him calling her a whore, because I think
right.
it's the idea of is either because in my mind I always thought it was this green bitch, but it's the green whore. It's the idea of you've given this guy a person who is very literal based on what he sees and operates in terms of like what is right before him. So he clearly doesn't deal with metaphor. He clearly doesn't deal with things that
Right.
are out of his scope of thinking. There's nothing in Gamora's backstory as far as he knows, because he knows her as like this fierce assassin. But the
Right.
one female character who is part of the group, he just randomly ups and calls a green whore, and it
Yeah.
just like
I know,
what?
but
Why
but
would
but in
why
his
your
defense, though,
character?
he also knows her as Thanos' daughter. So like anybody
Right.
aligned to Thanos or Ronan is just scum, right? So it's
I
just like,
always thought,
you know
I
what?
always thought too. I always
Yeah,
thought for this was also the way she dresses. Like that was the joke there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
but he also knows. So
I
my
didn't get
point is, he knows her as an
what Gunn was
assassin.
going for.
So
uh.
how
But
how she
that's
would
the
have
last point. Sorry to cut you, but in Gunn's defense, so and just the way how the line is delivered, it's just meant to catch people off guard. Because again, he's talking about this dumb tree's my friend, so it's all jokey and whatnot. But then he gets it to like a sharp insult. No, so it's supposed to jolt you. It's supposed to shock you a little bit, so to speak. That's clearly what Gunn was going for with that whole green hole freeze, right?
Oh,
But yeah, but
yeah.
go on, Tracy. Yeah.
No. I can buy it for $1. I can buy it for $1. I can buy all of that for $1. I just felt like in terms of who Drax has been leading up to this point,
Right.
all of
That's the
his
problem with it.
dialogue, everything it
Agreed.
was one of those things that at the moment that I saw it, it was like no. And then every time I go back and I see it, it's like no, still no. This still and fitting right with Drax. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it doesn't change the price of oil for a lot of people, but it's one of those things that I look at and be like, that wasn't necessary. It really wasn't.
Right.
But
I
outside of that,
understand.
then you go into the show. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a
Yeah.
great payoff though. I would admit there's a great payoff, right? Because right after
Yeah.
that, now Nebula shows up and she doing this pre-fight speech. So she's talking down to Gamora, and I'll never forget see this for the first time and how the audience cheered at this point, right? Drax pull out the rocket launcher basically, right? That he had, right?
Like a nuke, it sounds like a mini nuke kind of thing.
Yeah. And just fire one shot at Nebula Dread. And is a line that works where he says, "No one talks to my friends like that." I love that. That is brilliant, right? And it does pay off the whole Green Horde thing. So I would applaud James Gunn for at least kind of, rectifying that in a sense through Drax's character arc at this point, right? So meanwhile, on this field now where his ship crash lands on, Yondu gets his moment to shine now, because he takes on a whole squad of Rodent's goons with his arrow, right? It's a badass moment. Believe it is, right? But his moment in the prison, in Volume 2, trumps this, like by far. And he had a song to go with it too, right? But this one, it's just a simple, you know what I mean? And all these characters get killed, right? And also points for having this one guy in a ship, in like a small ship, and he get hit as well too. So Yondu now, he basically get a samurai moment, right? Where, if you're familiar with samurai movies or samurai media, the character cuts down somebody and then they like stylistically put sheath the sword back in. So he gets that, right? So this arrow goes back near his side, and once he does that, that's when all the opponents is dropped like at the same time. I love that the ship even falls at the same time and blows up. Like this that whole sequence again, short, sweet, but it hard though. And any thoughts on Yondu's badass samurai moment?
Yeah, it's one of the coolest things in the storyline. It's really one of the coolest things by far. A lot of it works.
It just works.
Yeah, it does work.
Yeah,
that's great action.
It works.
Love it.
So back on Ronan's ship now, Nebula literally picks herself back up, right? And sorts herself back out. And I think this is like the first time in the movie where you really get to see it's not so much regenerative powers because she's basically a cyborg, right? Not so much an android, but a cyborg, right? But there's this whole idea that she could sort of fix herself on the fly. Like I like that. That was really cool. Especially what she does with the jaw. I thought that was really cool as well, right? And then she start fighting with Gamora, right? Because all through this movie she has hate Gamora guts. So it's like throw down time, right? So the Nova Corps now in the meantime have it rough though because Ronan now give the order to have some of his ships basically start like real kamikaze style, dive bombing onto the city. Well, I forgot what the name of the Xandarian city was though. But they just start dive bombing into that city. But like, jeez, like wow, like Ronan. True, this like he just want to wipe everybody out so bad, right? So that's how it is, right? Rocket, who has been helping out the Nova Corps now, that's the plan that he has is very smart, right? Where basically it's just let me just take down these ships, let me prevent them from hitting the ground. That's basically what it is, right? So I feel this is just James Gunn, this being a little meta, this going back to the 80s again. This is basically asteroids, though.
Yeah.
It's basically asteroids because it's just all these ships blasted upwards, and I love that shot of all the Nova Corps ships just firing upwards. Yeah, just firing at these ships and preventing them from hitting the ground. That's what it is. It's asteroids. It's ET shits, right? Kids asking parents. I love the ETs. That's what it is, right? So meanwhile, back to the other Guardians, right? So Peter, Drax, and Groot square off against Korat, right? And some other goons, right? Drax of all people get to kill Korat, though I forget that, right? And he delivers a great line before he literally like yanks this like mechanism off of Korat's head. Finger to the throat means death. I love that. I love how he this next mic drop. He just watch Peter and says metaphor. Brilliant. I love it, right?
But there's a good action sequence too. It's a good fight.
Yes, it is.
Back and forth.
And it does circle back to like the very first, like the idea of the finger on the throat and what that means. It's like him remembering it and going back to that is brilliant.
Exactly. Groot and all get his badass moment too, because dude extends one of his arms out like a vine against his skill set, right? He peels like a row of like goons and he just starts slamming them, like up, down, left, right. But the payoff for what I love about this is the payoff though, because what he done, Marshall, basically wiping out everybody. he just does this goofy ass smile though.
Yeah.
After this genuinely brutal scene of violence. Priceless.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. Like I think that smile at all. Like there's so much like meme moments or like meme shots. I just Groot smiling after that's a meme shot, in my opinion, right? Anyway, Ronan uses hammer to take down the shield that's created by the Nova Corps, and basically the fight between Gamora and Nebula ends with Nebula basically refusing Gamora's hand, right? Because yeah, she's holding on for dear life. She's about to fall off the ship literally, but she's like, you know what? I don't want your help. Fuck you, bitch, and then just falls off, right? And in Terminator 2 style, she just lands on top of the windshield of the ship, and she like pulls this guy out and literally says, "Get out!" I'm like, all right, James Gunn, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. That's very clever. Terminator 2, wink, wink. I see you, right?
Mhm.
And Peter, Gamora, Drax, and Groot finally confront Ronan. And we forgot to mention earlier on that that Rocket had designed this particular gun, right? This particular and another rocket launcher as well too, right? But that was when he was that was when Peter and Gamora were being captured were captured by the Ravagers, right? And he was threatening, oh, you know, let them go, else you'll basically blow a hole in your ship, right? Basically, it's like that, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, Peter actually has the gun and he fires a shot at Ronan, right? But unfortunately, that doesn't work, right? Then Rocket shows up, he crashes his way through the ship, and he hits Ronan in the process, right? So Ronan's ship does the crash landing thing, and then Groot does what is arguably the bravest thing that I've ever seen him do in the trilogy, in my opinion.
Well,
This is
technically,
where
this is the same Groot. It's not the same Groot.
right. Yeah. I see
Yeah,
what you mean. I'll get to that
yeah,
to the very end, right? Yeah. And it's one thing this is the aspect of it that I forgot, but it adds so much emotion to it, right? Man basically use all of his powers, you know.
yeah,
He uses all of his powers to create this shield around him and the other Guardians, right? Because he's
Yeah.
using the vine-like powers, he's using the wood, the sort of shield, and he's using the lights as well. So he's basically using his life force at this point to save his comrades here, right? And is a shot where you see Rocket and he's teary-eyed because he knows he sacrificed that Groot is doing, right? And he asks her like, yo, why are you doing this? Right? You're basically draining away. Well, he asks her why you're doing it because he know that the more he does this, he's killing himself doing it, right?
Mhm.
Then he drops the variation of the line. I'll never forget
yeah,
hearing it for the first time, but I clap in the cinema. We are Groot.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
boy,
Gun
I
cocaine.
will not lie. Just see that scene
Gun real
again.
cocaine.
Yeah, when I see that scene again, boy, close to my tears, no. Not
Yeah.
my
Gun
tears,
real
not full
cocaine.
my tears, though, but it would the tears was welling up, Judd. Where you hear
It was
when you hear that
emotional. It was
line and the
legitimately
music,
emotional.
boy, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, while I shut up for a bit, yeah, any thoughts on the We Are Groot moment?
yeah. Gun real cocaine. Right? This is like that. I
That
realize this man know he doing shit. This is it here right here. Man know he shit. This is
Yeah.
filmmaking. Man how to tell a
And
story,
talk about
make
a
it work.
payoff to it because he takes something that was essentially funny, I am Groot, and makes it
and
something
turned it into this heart
tear-inducing.
wrenching.
Yeah,
Mhm.
boy. Like, wow. Anyway, I just keep saying wow, right? Anyway, the ship crash in the middle of the city, specifically in the middle of the city. There's a wide shot. You see the whole middle of the city is going boom, right? And then we get to the final part of this final battle, right? So I love the setup of it, right? Going back to music where you hear Ooh Chell, right? Playing from the stereo from Peter's ship, right?
Yeah,
And I love how it just sets the tone of it too, right? Where basically, yeah, you know, we've Xana has been through hell, our heroes have been through hell, there's no hope. So you're hearing this song, it's like, all right, we need to pick ourselves back up and keep moving forward. I love that. I love this, again, this perfect use of music here, right? Groot is pretty much dead here at this point. So the only
Yeah.
salvageable thing that Rocket has is just a branch, right? Literally a branch. That's all he have, right? And yeah, Ronan just being an asshole just show up and he just I love that when he just shows up, he just literally cancels out the Ooh Child song in the background. You just hear the whole evil intimidation music. He sat walking up to the survivors like,
His
yo,
presence.
I am going to kill y'all. And I love that he's the one who mentions, who coins the phrase Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, look at your Guardians of the Galaxy. Look at them, right? Yeah, boy, the man just like he just wanted to destroy all sorts of hope, Dread. You know what I mean, at this point, right? So as he's about to use his hammer to destroy the survivors, I won't lie. See, this for the first time, I think it catch everybody by surprise. Peter
So.
starts he starts dancing, right? And then he just and everybody everybody just like, so what are you doing
Right.
us? And just like, oh, challenging you to dance off.
Usually I hate bits like this. Because like,
Oh, you mean when all hope is lost and somebody just does this dumb
well,
thing?
it's more like why the villain even taking you on? Just blow up the planet. Like he actually paid attention to this nonsense.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because yes, there's the moment where he says, "What are you doing?"
Right. Yeah.
That was that delivery. I always remember that. What are you doing? Line that he does. Yeah.
No, I was saying there's a thing here. There was an episode of Justice League Unlimited where Orion and Batman was seeing what Flash's day would look like. Because Flash was getting the keys to the museum, and Flash was being a complete ass. Like I'd be like, in terms of like what Flash usually does, and Orion just couldn't understand. And he was telling Batman, I couldn't understand why y'all continue to be with him or why y'all continue to take him on and that kind of stuff. In a very weird way, that is the kind of parallel for me that I got from it, because you have a bunch of heroes who are out there saving the galaxy, whatever, and then there's this guy who is standing up there doing some weird dances in the middle of what should be my defining moment as the villain. So you look at him the same way how Orion looks at Flash and is like, what the hell? What are you doing? What exactly are you doing? This kind of incredulous way. That is the kind of connection that I got in my brain when I was watching that.
Yeah, and I think also too, it's a nice little bit of characterization too, because Ronan is looking down on everyone around him, everyone, right? So you just seeing this guy doing this offbeat dance. He's like, what are you doing, Dre? Like you done lower than me, Dre. So why are you embarrassing yourself like this, right? But yeah, surprise, is a distraction because you see Drax with the same gun and he blasts Ronan's hammer, right?
It's a hook up the gun a second time to get it to work on. Yeah.
Oh, right. And yes,
Rocket and Drax together,
Rocket helps him with that, right?
Yeah, he text away to get back, yeah.
Yeah. Again, going back to VFX and why I should have won an Oscar. Yeah, I just love that slow motion where you see Peter grabs the stone and he tries to hold the power of his own, but that's where you really get this to me, I think is the second hint that Peter is not entirely human. Because the first one was what the mom said. They mentioned
this after. I thought, I don't know, I felt they just use this as a weak expo dump after the fact, and I felt they shouldn't have seen what it was. They should have seen what it was.
I didn't mind that it was after the fact though, but I understand they could have set it up earlier. They could have set it up earlier.
Well, no, more my issue was like, well, why they shouldn't just say Celestial or say anything like that. They just say, hey, something. I don't know. They talked to him about it. It was kind of clumsy. I should rewatch the movie to get a proper like what was the problem with the sequence, but it's fine. It's not a big problem.
I think in retrospect, what they should have done was give another hint, because literally this is the second hint of Peter being half human, right? Because you would not have thought about it while you're watching the show at all. It's just when this moment happens, like, wait, what's going on, right?
But the thing is, why they set it up is that it didn't kill him like it killed the guild. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So just in retrospect, again, they could have give us one more hint, just one hint, another hint. Sorry, before we get to this piece, right? But yeah, so he's trying to channel it, and then again, just with the emotion by the music and the VFX, yeah, everybody else, the other guardians show up, hold hands together, and they hold on to this power. Then eventually, they use it to pretty much destroy Ronan, and then they put it away in the orbit itself, right? But that's that whole scene alone, especially
where he channels his mother, where he's remembering his mother, that particular.
Yes. That's a great visual.
When Gamora, you make a connection with Gamora and the mother,
Yes. But just visually, emotion, and boy, just everything about this sequence absolutely works. So, and yes, surprise, I get chills. I get chills with that moment where you see all the Guardians just standing together, holding hands.
Love this theme song, though.
Yeah, of course, that boy, chills, chills, right? But anyway,
Didn't
so
they do something like that in Final Fantasy VII? Though there was one of those. What was it? Final Fantasy VII, a film where all of them, all the heroes, Aerith and all of them, was falling to the ground, and one was grabbing the other, and the other one was grabbing the other. And
oh,
it
I
wasn't
love
Final.
that sequence. That's adventuring.
Yeah,
I love that
that's
sequence.
right.
That
There
you
you
remember that Ricardo does where like when they're trying to fight Seraph, so like one character will kind of push the next one up and then push the next character up and then it reached to
go. And they
Cloud and
all kind of
Cloud start fighting Seraph. It was that moment
Yeah,
you talk about. That
yeah,
scene was hard though. That scene was hard. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so now for the final moments, right? So yeah, so Gamora basically closes the Power Stone, right? But I like that you don't really see what she uses to close it, right? But when Yondu shows up, right, you see that Peter put his hand with the orb behind his back, right? Yeah, Yondu show up like, yo, give me the orb, man, give me everything, and he gives him it, right? But it just the writing again. I love it because Yondu never saw the orb to begin with. He just assumed that what he's being received, what Peter gives him is the orb, is the thing that everybody
Mhm.
talking about and getting killed for. So he's like, yeah, cool, thank you, and going right. Um, and it's a nice bit of dialogue, and this would be the third hint of what to expect with Volume 2, where you see Yondu and Sean Gunn talking before they fly out, and Sean says it's probably good we didn't deliver Peter to his father like we was hired to do, and
Right. This
Yondu
was an
says
intent.
that guy was a jackass. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
basically that is foreshadowing to
Second
just how
one
much
is
of a jackass Ego was, right? In Volume 2. But just looking back at it though, it's really amazing how it was one of those blink and you miss it lines though, because yeah,
yeah,
first time when I saw it, I didn't pick up on it, right? Because you're just there, or you're riding off the high of what you saw with with the Guardians. Now they stop Ronan, right? So you wasn't really thinking about what it is to say, but when you watch it over again, it's like, plus they set up Volume 2 and I didn't even notice back then. Holy shit, right? Look at that, right? So outro time now. So back at Xander now, this is where Peter learns that he's half human, right? So his mother was human, but his father was, and we'll see what he
right.
was in Volume 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dot, right? To be continued, right? Um, John C. Reilly's character rebuilds Peter's ship, and it's really
There's
heartfelt.
a nice little edit. I love this montage with John C. Reilly's family. Can you tell him, you saved my
Oh yeah,
family?
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And if I'm not mistaken, it's the same
No,
race that the collector's
The same kind of
sister
purple
was.
that Karina.
Yeah,
yeah, I forget
Karina.
the name.
Yeah.
I forget it's Trio Weapons. I forget what it is.
No, it's not Kree, but it's something else. I can't remember what it
Right,
was, but yeah, I believe it's the same race, right?
right,
Yeah, we get, but yeah, during that montage, they play "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
right.
Perfect song as well to close it off. I
Yeah,
love that
you
this
tell him
is
my family's alive because of you. I was like, okay,
yes,
this
yes,
is
yes,
like
yeah.
that's what it's about. Yeah,
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
Just going back to soundtrack, this is a song that opens Awesome Mix Volume 2.
yeah,
Again, it's pretty much telling the audience we get a sequel. That's what it is, right? But I love that, this is the moment where Peter actually unwraps the gift that he got from his mother all these years ago, right? The
right.
first time he puts in the cassette that he saw that plays, right? I love that, right? I also love too that, she was the one that called him Star-Lord, right? Because you see this
Right.
letter
I
and,
getting it
the
from
end is like Star-Lord. It's like, okay. I see what they set up there. Volume 2 setup. I love how they do that, right?
At the time, a lot of people was like dismissive of that. Like, why would you do that?
Oh,
That
really?
doesn't make any sense. But we know why because of the dad. It's like, okay, right,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
right.
And yeah, this whole sequence is, just off the song alone too, is really sweet, is really heartfelt. It's very sentimental. I love it, right? I also love, there's a moment where Peter just kind of feels down and out because of what happened. He doesn't know where to go, and yeah, me and Gamora kind of shows up, and just kind of to assure him that everything is gonna be okay, right? I love that the contrast now with Yondu, who is in his ship, and he's just seeing all the Ravagers getting drunk and having fun, but he just sitting down there, just sort of pondering, because clearly he misses Peter, right? And then he opens the orb and he realizes, oh, it's something else there, right? So swear to God, right?
Troll doll.
I did not know that this doll is called a troll doll. I always
Yeah,
knew it was an 80s doll, but I just never knew what the name of that doll was, right? So I
yeah,
had to
yeah,
Google it after the fact, like literally a few days ago. It's like, oh, that is a troll doll. That's what it's called. Okay, I
yeah. Troll
never
doll.
knew that.
Those are super popular.
All right, well, I never
I
had
never had
one.
them, but they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were super back in the day. Yeah.
But it is a trope of 80s culture, pop culture.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what it is, right? Yeah, basically, our heroes leave Xanda, they go off in search for adventure, add, surprise, surprise, though, off of the branch that Rocket saved, yeah, this is where we get a new Groot, or I should say Groot
Baby
2.0,
Groot.
who, the new Groot, right? So baby Groot, so to speak, right? Um, yeah, there's this cute bit now where you're hearing Jackson 5's I Want You Back. I just see the branch dancing. That was really nice. I thought that was like a really, really like nice, heartfelt moment too, right? Really cute moment, I must say, right? I love how they frame it too with Drax in the background. You know, the cleated sharp, the blade, but every time he looks, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
he
funny
does,
bit.
yeah, it's a nice bit. I like that.
Stop
That was
dancing.
nice. That was nice, right? And then as far as the post credit scene, which everybody's seen back for, myself included, yeah, you see Tanale back in the museum. He look at the shovel. He look depressed because everything all blown up and whatnot, right? And you see Cosmo, the dog, show up, lick his face, right? And
Right.
then we see Howard the Duck, which I believe he although he it was the it was this
Voiced by
voice
Seth Green.
actor, right? Seth Green, although he was the voice actor in What If, so it's like I want to make sure, right? And he says like, yeah, why do you let it lick it like why do you let it lick you like that for? Gross. I was like, ah,
Gross.
yeah, that was cool. That was cool. See Howard the Duck, you know, that was cool. You know what I mean? I can't say that it was absolutely worth me sticking around the 8 minutes of credits, but it was a nice like callback because remember, as I said, you saw Howard the Duck in the background, so I like that they sort of brought it back as well too for this little bit, right? So I didn't mind that, right? But yeah, this rounds things up. Not really much more I could say, right? This is still one of the best MC movies I would say ever made, though. It is really amazing though how 10 years after this movie came out, it still holds up. The
10 years,
VFX
of course.
is still phenomenal, though. Why this movie didn't win best visual effects is beyond me. Why it didn't win best makeup and hairstyle is beyond me as well too. I thought the makeup was great, right? The storytelling, just it's James Gunn and Nicole Perlman. I'm not familiar with her as well, but it was a co-writing effort here. I think with the other two, it was pure James Gunn, right? But what they brought to the table with the story, with the characters, with the worlds, with the visuals, though, is so is really really remarkable in my opinion, right? And what the show really excelled at was just introducing us to characters that we didn't know, worlds that we never saw before, right? And just embracing its comic book roots, embracing the genre of science fiction, and just going wild and crazy with it too, but always having a emotional center to all things, right? So it's not just I want to have weird characters and humorous quips for the sake of it. We're really telling a genuine story. We're gonna give you characters that you genuinely care about, right? And I just love how these characters were expanded in volumes 2 and 3, right? So for me, while I still can't say that 2 or 3 is better than this one, maybe over time I could say that 3 is better than 1, right? But at the moment, because of just the history I have with this, yeah, for me, 1 is still the best, man. So for me, rating-wise, strong 4.5 out of 5, man. Easily one of the best MC movies ever made. I would say that, like you, Ricardo, this is in my top 10 for sure. Maybe if I think about it, this actually could be my top 5 the more I think about it, right? But yeah, just as the introduction to these characters, it works just as a MCU intro movie. It's one of the best. And yeah, it kickstart what is, in my opinion, one of the best trilogies in the MCU thus far, right? And yeah, we have nobody else to tag though. I mean, while we could praise James Gunn to high heaven for this, because yeah, he is the man responsible for all this, and just the mere fact that he had creative control, I should say, well, mostly creative control with this, right? We also had a shout out the cast as well too, right? Whether it's Chris Pratt, right, who we didn't think, this guy from Parks, right? He gonna be in an MC movie? What? And yeah, we all know him as Peter Quill now, right? Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, who really, really shine in this movie, right? And yeah, this is why he is up there as far as like E-listers, you know what I mean, when it comes to wrestlers, to actors, right? Vin Diesel, who clearly had a blast with his one-day recorded session, and yet out of that he gave us one of the most beloved characters in the MCU bar none, right? And of course, Oscar nominee Bradley Cooper, right? Really bringing a lot of heart to Rocket. So he's not just this this crass creature. No, it's a creature with heart though, you know what I mean? And like that, right? Sure, the villain could have been fleshed out a lot more, but he is serviceable for the most part, right? And there's the other characters and the other actors involved as well too, and just everything as a whole though, just how everything just kind of came together so well though, so But again, it's just amazing that 10 years has passed since this movie come out, though. And it feels like something that literally came out a couple of years ago, right? That's just the testament to just how well executed this movie was from top to bottom, right? So not much more I could say. It's still one of the best movies in the MCU. One of the best sci-fi movies, I would say, of the 2010s. One of the best superhero movies, I would say, ever. And boy, I can't wait to see how it holds up 10 years from now, man. So yeah, absolutely love this film. So Ricardo, your final thoughts or rating on Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1.
Yeah, I dug the hell out of this. Again, it catch me. I was expecting it to be solid, going into it. I saw like early screen stuff and with it, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Just true kind of modern classic. Like it is just a great sci-fi classic. Great characterization. They build the situation up. Just funny stuff. Genuinely heart material. And yeah, gun real cook in this movie, George. Like it has so many good moments and lead up to its climax and storytelling. Action comes together really well. Love it. One of my favorites.
What would you rate it? 10 years from now, right? What?
Yeah, like pretty high for me. I like a 9 out of 10. I just dug the hell out of it. Not perfect. I had some issues with some how the characterization was at a couple parts, right? As I said, you mentioned the Drax horse stuff and a couple of things with Rocket that just seems to come out of nowhere in my opinion.
Yeah. What about just Ronan as a villain? Like if you felt he could have been fleshed out.
Yeah, right. Ronan as a villain was just kind of flat. Like again, it was implying politics that we just never get the ultimate payoff for. So like, all right, fine, I suppose. That kind of interesting. But yeah, for the most part, it's still solid. It is building our story, and it does a lot. I think ultimately it does a lot right. Like, almost everything I didn't expect to do right. It caters to our alternate crowd. That's why it works. Like it's not really meant to be mainstream, but it really meant to be offbeat, and it taps into that energy really, really well. 9 out of 10. Love it.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention too, again, this came out the same year as Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Dread. So there are 2 movies in 2014 and the MCU gave out, and they are 2 of the best. They would be in probably anyone's top 5 as far as best MCU movies go, right? So 2014 was a great year for the MCU, right? But yeah, Tracy, final thoughts and rating. Looking back at it now, 10 years from since it came out.
Well, I want to start us off by saying, even though Guardians did not get any sort of accolades from the Academy, it's important to remember that in 2017, Suicide Squad got Best Makeup and Hairstyling from the Oscars. So I don't know.
I know why, right? You know why? Killer Croc. That's why. That's why.
I still mad because Star Trek Beyond should have won.
Yes. Agreed, yes. I was rooting for Star Trek Beyond that year, right? But yeah, sorry, Tracy, continue. Yeah.
No, that's fine. In terms of a rating, this is near perfect for me. I still listen to the music from all of the volumes. That's to tell you how brilliant it is. And the film of itself, of Volume 1, is near perfection. I mean, 1 or 2 things, obviously, you would have heard me rant about it, but there are 1 or 2 things in there, but it's still gold. So for me, I would still give it like an A or an A minus, that kind of something. It's still good. There are a few things randomly that always stick with me every time I think about that movie. Like, one, I'm sure he has some sort of technology, but like, brah, how did you get your Walkman charged all this time?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
And some tech modification at some bullshit to somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure it had some kind of something, but it's like, bro,
it's just like you're trying to tell me they can replicate, tripped up AA batteries or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there is this one final thing that I'll throw out here, and I put it to the grander mythology of the MCU, and especially in light of the whole RDJ situation that is happening now. When I was, because I went into Guardians of the Galaxy with pretty much no knowledge, so I had to do my research before I went into it. I would know what exactly is what. And I know that Peter's father is supposed to be a being, his name is Jason or something like that. So he has like a humanoid form and it's called Jason, and he's like some sort of prince or whatever it is like that. But for the sake of the film, and in terms of the movie universe, the cinematic universe, they played with the idea of his father being a planet ego and actually taking on the different forms to go to the different planets and literally soul life.
Yeah.
I say that, and I always bring that up whenever we as fans of the MCU might like gripe about a certain decision, the MCU moves differently than the actual comics. And it should be allowed to explore whatever version of reality they want to. So now bringing in like an RDJ to circle that back there, if they want to bring an RDJ to say he's going to be a new Doom from another universe, it's not the first time that they have moved away from this is a standard comic adaptation that we are building.
That should never bother me. Yeah, that never bothered me.
Maybe.
Right.
But for the film of itself, for Guardians of the Galaxy, brilliant. It's brilliant. The music is great. The characterizations is great. Seeing Amelia Pond was great. I mean, all in blue. I don't have any kind of real issue.
I love. I flat out love Nebula's look to her makeup. I love that. Yeah.
That's it for me there.
Yeah.